So I have a concern with one of our responsibilities for SB 35 and housing and the mandated developments. So the concern has to do with one of the provisions of SB 35 stating that based upon your requirements and your allowances, we could well have our decisional authority taken away from us. So with respect to the Vallco specific site, we were looking at, I believe the density is 35 dwelling units per acre. And so that translates to something like roughly 50 acres, around 2,400 dwelling units. We also have 600,000 square feet of retail that's been allocated. But the real concern is the 2 million square feet of office. Because within SB 35, there is a provision that states that if you have a ratio of housing to commercial, and commercial includes retail as well as office, of 2 to 1, then there is a possibility that these allowances will occur automatically. So if you add up the 2 million and the 600,000, that's 2.6 million square feet of commercial. And then if you're creating a 2 to 1 ratio, that means that you're doubling that amount just for the housing. So that's 5.2 million square feet. Adding it together, that's 7.8 million square feet. That's almost 4 million square feet that could potentially be subjected to an automatic, no kind of approval mechanism, building permission. So that I think everyone would agree is not something that we want to relinquish control over. That's twice the number of square feet as the Measure D plan. So I would propose that we put this on the agenda because this is going to take effect. The law is going to take effect in January. And I would propose that we put ourselves back into the position that we were in prior to SB 35 being enacted with respect to the office space. And the position we were in previously is that it was subjected to approval of a specific plan. And so if we're no longer, in full control or in any control, and if that bears itself out, then we will have to act very quickly in order to, address this allocation. The reason that if we take it back, the 2 million square feet back, that we'll be in the same position that we were in previously is that an office allocation can still be put forward in a specific plan. It's just that we would then have the right to approve it, just like we did prior to SB 35. And so time is a bit of the essence. I hope I can get a second person to, support putting this on an agenda prior to the end of the year. But time is of the essence with respect to, if we don't act quickly enough, then we're going to, potentially relinquish this right. And I know that we're acting in parallel with the analysis of SB 35 that the City Attorney's Office has been asked to prepare. My concern is simply that analysis may actually come out after the time when it's too late for us to act with respect to this office allocation. So if we can, I'd like to find a second person to support placing this as an agenda item before the end of the year in front of council.
I would support that, and I know there's wide community support for removing that allocation. So, I would support putting it on the agenda.
So we'll bring you back a report at the 21st. I think that's probably as quick as we can get it done. We can certainly cover those issues that Vice
You mean
Mayor.
the 21st of November?
Yes.
So that's
before
the meeting
Before
of the
the study
28th.
session?
Before the study session.
Yeah,
Okay.
and it'll focus on things that we can reasonably foreseeably do before the end of the year.
If we have to understand before we act, I'm okay with. I'm personally okay with special meetings or extra meetings or whatever it takes, because I think we
if
do have
we're going
to
to do something, most likely
protect
we're going to be
our hands,
in
right?
special meeting territory, just because.
Okay. Finally, after remarks 2 weeks ago, I see now that we have a lot of meetings put ahead of us. In particular, there's a planning commission agenda that would remove the housing element from Vallco. And if I understand correctly, it would also ask the planning commission whether they wanted to zero out the office allocation. Is that correct?
It's not specific to how much allocation, but to examine whether they want to change the allocation of office.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, you know, where I'm coming from, I think we've heard it in oral communication. I've received lots of written correspondence. It seems to me, and we'll have to see where everybody else is, but it seems to me that asking the Planning Commission to weigh in at this stage it's premature, and this needs to be done with more deliberation.
I have to echo what you say, because to my surprise, generally this has to go through the majority of the council to discuss first. Now we just give the instruction to the planning to look into this. I was, to be honest, I was caught in surprise, and a very unpleasant surprise. So I agree with you. I don't think this is the proper way to do it. I don't want to rush. Last time we took 2 years. We've been accused we made the wrong decision, which I disagree. Now we are going to do this in couple weeks, couple months. I don't think we'll get into much bigger trouble down the road. So I totally don't want to be rushed, and I don't want to do it not in the normal process.
In terms of the rush nature of the process, the legislation was passed in late September, as Councilmember Sinks notes, and so that gives us a very limited window to respond if we would need to respond. The danger is still there, and I think that given the fact that the legislation itself takes effect on January 1st in 2018, it doesn't change the calculus. So with respect to the procedure and how that would affect our potential delivery of solutions to problems that we could identify, I just want to make very clear that we're not trying to rush something that previously took a long time to arrive at. At the end of December 2014, I was that holdout vote that said, look, it's 3 a.m. in the morning on the second night in a row of the council meeting. Is this a good idea to allocate if we're not talking about heights, setbacks, or any other kind of limitations? So, I mean, we're now stuck with an artifact of that decision, and you could very well look at it and go, hey, it might have been 2 years leading up to it, but the actual decision itself was pretty hastily rendered. So, I mean, I think at the end of it, if you're following it, and if you're being fair, then ultimately the problems that are being identified are still there. Now that door has been opened, I mean, I would just say that I think it's critically important to the community, and that there's an appetite in the community to, hear objectively what the impact would potentially be. But, ultimately, Rod, if you're now saying that, well, the 2 million square feet of office, it's not something that bothers me, that's certainly your prerogative.
I mean, I do appreciate Councilmember Paul and Sinks recognizing that the GPA that passed in 2014 was passed with certain expectations going forward of the council being able to approve specific plans, and that these housing bills have the potential to take all that away. And that's the reason why we wanted to look into this further, because it is a big change. It's not saying that what happened was wrong or misguided. It was done at the time with what was known at the time, and now everything is changing, and we really do need to look into this. And we want to move forward with the housing that was in the RENA allocation, and see how we can do that, because it hasn't happened yet.
So to be very clear, the direction given to staff is to hold the study session on Monday, November 27th at 6:45, and cancel the Planning Commission meeting on 28th as well as the ERC. We agree? Okay, thank you.
I'm not putting in an explicit, third. So if you wanted to third it, then please do. But I did want to point out that there's this, this is this lingering effect of an enactment of January 1st. So I don't want to be misunderstood here. I want to put on the record that I believe that there is a loose end that we're leaving here. But if you're thirding it, then I respect the will of the majority.
No, I heard it from you, which is why I said we all agree.
No, I'm not thirding it. I am not.
I'll third it.